I'm about to cry and this hasn't even started, so we're off to a great start.
There's no crying in church.
Yeah, no, this is the place to do it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out. This is such a fantastic crowd. My name is Molly, and I'm the events director at Books Are Magic, which, if you don't know, is a lovely little independent bookstore just a few blocks away from here. So, we are so excited to host tonight's event, but before we officially get started, I just have a few housekeeping notes to get out of the way. First, I want to give a huge thank you to First Unitarian for allowing us to use their gorgeous space for tonight's event. If you, yeah. It's beautiful. Take a look at it. If you need to use the restroom at any point, they are to my left, to your right of the entrance, down the stairs. Towards the end of tonight's conversation, we'll be doing a hand-raised audience Q&A. I'll be passing around this little microphone right here, so start thinking of
I didn't take a picture before I remember.
them. All the books have been pre-signed by Carolina, but she will be around after the event to personalize your books. We'll let you know where and when to start lining up for that. And finally, if you're joining us virtually on the YouTube live stream, you can purchase a copy by clicking the link in the live stream description. Okay, now it is my privilege to introduce Carolina Gelen and Dan Pelosi, who join us tonight to celebrate the launch of Carolina's debut cookbook, Pass the Plate. I'm just going to read some bios, and then we're going to dive right into this very delicious conversation.
Make sure my phone's on mute.
On a mission to share her abounding love of food with you. Her journey began in Transylvania, Romania, where, upon winning a Jamie Oliver contest, she immigrated to the United States in 2021. In America, Carolina worked in the kitchen of a James Beard Award winner, developed video and recipe content for New York Times Cooking, and was a recipe resident at 352. Simultaneously, she built an online community of millions who loved her cooking and baking recipes for being so shareable, approachable, and delicious, and now you get to take them all home with you. She currently resides in Utah, but believes that when someone makes one of her recipes, a part of her resides with them. And as I mentioned earlier, Dan Pelosi joins Carolina in conversation tonight. Dan is the Italian-American meatball-making meatballs behind Pelosi, the popular Instagram favorite for all things comfort and food. Dan's first cookbook, Let's Eat, is a New York Times bestseller and is also available for purchase tonight at the table where you checked in. He splits his time between Brooklyn and upstate New York, but you can find him online at Pelosi. Okay, that is all for me. Without any further delay, please join me in giving Carolina and Dan a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I just look around for a minute. Look at all these people here to see you. It's so amazing.
I was going to say, I'm about to cry and this hasn't even started, so I'm so grateful that you all showed up. I don't have any words. It just warms my heart. My favorite thing is just sharing food and the love of food with people. So it's something I like to describe the dream I never dared to dream. Like, I didn't even know this was a possibility. So the fact that you're all here, it just warms my heart and it makes me so grateful for each and every one of you.
So sweet. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm loving that your book is in place of the Bible in some of these pews, so just take that in.
I didn't even notice that. I'm like, oh.
Pass the plate.
Yes.
Give us the scoop. How long have you been working on it?
2 years, almost a little bit over 2 years. I was going to say 2.5 years. It's been very much a labor of love. I've been quiet for most of the time. I know you also haven't really taken people.
You haven't been quiet.
I feel like when I announced it, then I haven't shut up about it ever since. But
That's
yes,
our job.
2.5 years, and it's a cookbook that I really wanted to be an extension from what you're already used to on my socials. It's full of approachable, delicious food that you can make at home. It's approachable for all skill levels, so you don't have to be a professional cook to follow these recipes. And I hope these recipes encourage you to get in the kitchen, find the joy in food and in hosting people and just sharing food with everyone.
You're the cutest person in the whole world. I can't handle it.
Am I talking too much?
No, it's just, no.
My dream, I don't know how to explain. The
talk.
fact that I have a microphone in my hands is just like a dream come true. I will never shut up. Like someone's gonna need to rip this out of my hands.
Luckily, you're here to talk. So
yes.
That's great. I just have to say, like, you said you went quiet for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I know, having written, sorry, everyone on the YouTube, or whatever.
Good call.
Having written a book myself, I'm just so amazed that you were able to continue to do your social videos and those recipes and to write this book at the same time. And I'm just like so proud of you because it's such a hard thing to do. But what are you the most proud of in terms of the book? Like what makes you the happiest in these pages?
I think I'm very proud of how this came together. It was a very intentional idea, and I'm glad that it stayed intentional till the end of it. All the recipes have a purpose. There's a little bit of everything for everyone, whether you are looking for a quick dinner, a one-pan meal, something quick to make for your guests when they show up uninvited, or a dessert you can make in the beginning of the week on a Monday and finish it by Tuesday.
Or Monday night. So what was the most surprising process? Because like you get a cookbook deal and like kind of no one tells you what to do.
No one tells you what to do. I'm so grateful I had a wonderful team from my publisher. Like you get assigned a team from your publisher and they're the ones to guide you through it because you are very much clueless. It's a very, very different process from anything I've ever worked in.
What surprised you the most about the process?
I think what surprised me the most was just how much work goes in writing a cookbook. I wish we could somehow translate that to people at home because the price would make so much more sense. I know $30 to $35 is not affordable for everyone, but when you know just how much time, labor, and work, and how many people put their hands on this book, it makes it worth it, and it makes it such a special project.
Yeah, it really is. It's, you know, this is in print. It's not going anywhere.
Yes. I hope you don't catch too many mistakes. There's been quite a few people testing the recipes and reviewing them, but
there's always a few mistakes, and it makes your book very special.
Did you find any in your cookbook?
Oh yeah, day 2 I got DMs. One recipe is missing an entire, it's $3.75 for the baked eggs. Half of you probably don't know who I am, but just in case. Okay, so you have quite the story, Transylvania.
Yes.
Which is like a place.
It exists.
And I just loved, I got one of your like little boxes that you sent out and you just put a bunch of garlic in the book. And I was like, this is so good. And then you signed it like your friendly Transylvanian vampire.
I want to give you a little scoop on the PR packages. Please. Because they started as something and the garlic made more sense in a certain context, and then we certainly...
Are they going to be in like a casket or something? Like,
100%. That was exact. How did you guess that?
I just know your sense of humor.
No, there was a microplane, but then there weren't enough in stock for us to get them. So like it slowly went down. So all the celebrities that I sent garlic to, I hope they really enjoyed it. All I replied to, I'm like, this A-lister got my cookbook. I'm like, enjoy the garlic.
I didn't feel like anything was missing. I was like, this makes complete sense. A bunch of garlic for an Italian. I was like so happy. But you do have such a sense of humor, and I think that it's so infused in this book. You do your like, in your Instagram stories, you have your little like I love when you have your little faces in these tiny little places.
Yes.
And they're also in here.
They are in the cookbook. So for those of you who don't know, and each and every one of my pictures that I post on my Instagram stories, I hide a little sticker of my face in the picture. There's no prize in finding it, so you're all on your own on that. But there's just, it's a little fun game that I have with my community.
Raise your hand if you play the game. I play the game.
Okay.
They love an activity.
Yes, it's once you start, it's very hard to unsee it and not like DM me. My favorite thing is when I do like 10 faces every now and then in one picture, and people are like, where's the 8th one? What do you mean there's 10? I don't even see 8. But yeah, it started, Instagram used to have this feature where they would allow you to take a picture of your face and insert it in a photo.
Yeah.
And I feel responsible because I'm pretty sure I'm the one that removed that feature from Instagram. I'm not even kidding. Instagram, they're very responsive when it comes to you sending them emails about features not working on their app. And I sent them like a very serious email about how this feature is like my bread and butter and it hasn't been working for the past 3 months. And I've been like manually adding these stickers with my face on them. And then I woke up the next day and the feature was gone. Ugh. So I did it to myself.
Brutal.
But
I'm so sorry.
it's okay.
You're still pulling it off. I
Yes,
don't know how. Don't
yes.
tell us how. So something else that you share in your stories, which I also love, and we've actually done this together, we had an activity together in the city, is thrifting.
Oh, yes.
And you have your thrift, is it Sundays we
Thrift Sundays.
Thrift Sundays. And you've tagged me in a few of the items.
I did.
And I didn't even know you tagged me. And then I was like, I need that. And you're like, it's like word like this.
You know what's I do have something at home that I thrifted for you.
You
So like
did?
I'm actively thrifting for people.
others.
Yes,
Like,
I
I
have
need
boxes for
anything.
people. Especially when I found out that you moved. I found this, it's like a utensil jar and it has a checkerboard pattern around it. So I'm like, it looked like your cookbook. It looked like a page in your cookbook. And when I saw it, I'm like, yep.
So you don't have,
I don't have it with you. It would have been a great moment to
No,
like pull
I'm
it out of my pocket.
I'm definitely not a priority. So
I'm
it's
actually
fine.
lying right now.
Yeah,
This is
exactly. You're ordering one on Etsy after this. But I'm like so obsessed with how books come to be and the styling and the prop styling. And I loved how like you have the vibe of the thrifting. And so did you like when you worked with, did Maeve style your book?
Yes, Maeve styled my book.
Did
She
you-
is just incredible.
An angel. Did you talk about the thrifting and like how you wanted to, because there's such a vibe of that in the book.
Yes, we actually went to a prop house that wasn't hers, and she just wanted to get a sense of what I'm drawn to and what I like. I also like bombarded her with like a million images of things I like.
Yeah, 'cause
So
this
that
is
must
your-
have been helpful.
It's your baby.
100%, 100%. And what I think content creators have such a close relationship to the way the food looks and the way the food photographs. And I think you like to invest a little bit more time into that. And textures are lovely. I actually thrifted all the clothing I'm wearing in the background of the pictures.
I knew it.
It was like
Sorry,
it was my downtime. After every photo shoot, I would go thrifting and just I started picking up a bunch of knits because they photograph so well.
Genius.
Yeah.
It's the most fun. Okay, so how did it go for you? It was really, with my book, it was hard for me to have someone else like styling the food, but immediately it soothed me because I was like, oh my God, you're so much better at this than I will ever be. Did you have the same reaction? Because we work in our houses sort of by ourselves. What was it like to suddenly be in a studio with a photographer, a food stylist, a prop stylist, all these people? How'd that go?
I think that was one of the hardest things to adjust to, the fact that you're counting on other people. I'm very much a one-woman show. I'm editing my videos, I'm filming them myself, I'm doing my recipes, I'm testing, like I'm doing everything. So I think that makes me a little bit of a control freak because I dip my toes in all these different subjects. So when you pass that responsibility onto other people, even if it's something small like picking a napkin for the corner of this picture, it's very hard. And I think it's also the only child in me that's like, no, I have to get it my way.
Yeah, exactly.
But I remember that first day, I was so nervous and so scared, but then I met the photo team and they've just been incredible, like a blessing to work with. Every single one of them, just pure angels. They knew exactly what they're there for. Not only that, I think an eye-opening experience was just how much you learn from them. So you're going in like, I have to do this, I have to control everything, but then you let go of that and you're like, oh wow, these people are professionals, they know what they're doing, and they have so much to teach you.
Yeah,
So
it's nice to just allow yourself to sit back. Okay, so I could talk about how we make books forever, but I also want to talk a little bit about your background and how you sort of, it's in so much of what you do, like your culture. You talk about your mom's donuts in the intro, and I didn't see the recipe for them, but I'm now wanting the recipe. So where's that recipe? Can I get it?
The recipe doesn't exist. It's
she
in my
just-
mother's brain. So I have to fly to Romania, put her in the kitchen and very closely follow every single one of her steps. So because she's very much an eyeballer. Like I've never seen my mother follow a recipe in her entire life. She's gonna just make donuts from scratch, and then the next day she's gonna make cake from scratch, and every single time she nails it. But I have not been able to replicate hers. So
well, the hardest part of our job is figuring out measurements. Like it's the last thing I want to do, right?
Yes, and especially with a cookbook that's published in the US, you have to work with inches and ounces and things like that. I'm thinking with a very metric brain, so I'm still like, I couldn't spit out an answer if you asked me the equivalent of XYZ inches. I'd be like, 1 inch, like that's 1 centimeter, and it's like, it's times 2. So.
Well, besides that unique challenge, how else have you like managed to infuse your background into this book?
I think growing up in Romania and not having a lot, like we never ate out. We ate out maybe once or twice a year if it was a very special occasion, if we had something to celebrate. You just don't have the money for it. So you grow in a household where everything you eat is just made from scratch. But that also leaves a mark on you, because I grew up in a family where if you put an X amount of food on your plate, you would have to finish that X amount of food off your plate. So if you put a little bit too much, then,
Gotta eat it.
Sucks to be you, but you have to eat it. And I think that was meant to teach you responsibility, and to eat responsibly, and to consume responsibly. So I think that sort of resourcefulness and care for ingredients, like I don't want you to waste half of the things you're eating. Like the first thing that comes to mind is I have a fall harvest salad with broccoli and sweet potatoes, and I'm using the stalks from the broccoli that a lot of people throw away. Like it's small things like that that certainly are there, and they're from the way I was raised.
When you did go out to eat twice a year, where did you go?
You know what? Pizza places are huge in Romania.
Really?
Yes, it's like a pizzeria, and they have like the largest pies, and they're all like cooked in a wood-fired oven, so they're always delicious.
Sounds
but
delicious.
it would always be a pizza.
I love that. Okay. What ingredients can you get in Romania that you can't get here? Like, what do you miss?
The first thing that comes to mind in Romania, at the local farmers market that I grew up with, we have a sour cream vending machine. So you put in your coins.
Whoa.
And it's like fresh, like it's closer to creme fraiche. It's like a very tart creme fraiche.
So you're like putting your hand underneath of it and filling it with
Yes, they
sour
actually
cream.
have a container, like a deli container.
there's a
You
container.
put it in there, you put your coins, and it's kind of like frozen yogurt here, but with sour cream.
Are there flavors, or is it just
No.
basic?
This
that
is
like
still
strawberry,
Europe.
chocolate,
Like
vanilla?
calm down. There's not
Oh.
there's not 50 flavors of that. That's you know what? That's such a great question,
let's do
because
it.
that was like my biggest shock when I moved to the US. Is
No
just
sour cream
how
vending
many
machine.
flavors there are of everything. And yeah, no sour cream vending machines. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's
Step it up, America.
someone is gonna walk out of here, start that, and be like a
I
billionaire.
know. Maybe like I need a little bit of credit for that. Like put my name on the back of the machine
Maybe
at
I'll
least,
tell
or something.
Tillamook that we should do this.
I imagine like I do like that idea, like flavored sour creams. Imagine like a vanilla bean sour cream. I feel like that's.
Yeah, that's not where I go. I go more
Where
like
did you go?
I went like spicy or like chai. Like I think I went more savory, but I'm like a savory girl.
Yeah, I'm a sweet girl.
You're a sweet girl. Wow, look at us.
I love a sweet. Like I have a huge sweet tooth.
Bringing the divide of America together on stage.
100%.
In a church under a Pride Ribbon art craft project.
Look
which
at
I love.
us.
I kind of want to braid it, but that's a whole other thing.
Ooh.
Right? Maybe later
I
we
didn't
could do
realize
it.
I thought it was just the.
It's like a Signing Unity crafts project that we
Yeah.
do. And a Unitarian. Does that mean unity? Okay, whatever. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, wait. So, computer science.
Yes.
You have a degree in computer science.
I do have a degree in computer science that I'm
Show
not...
me, like, how does that land in this book?
I think, so my degree in computer science came strictly from me not knowing what to do with my life. If you grew up with Eastern European parents or you grew up in Europe, you know that cooking or art stuff is not very encouraged. I don't know if that's common in the US, but if you tell your parents that you want to be an artist, they're gonna laugh at you and be like, okay, you can be the disappointment of the family if you so wish. So you are trained to only think of real worthy jobs being the ones that make money, like doctors and lawyers and, you know, smart people, which is such a bad way of thinking, but you do grow up with that.
Yeah.
And when that's all you know, it's like, okay, I'll just become a programmer, and I hope that, you know, it's your means to escape poverty. You know, like I was the first person in my family that actually went to college, so it was a huge deal that, you know, I got in, and I realized, like, the first weekend, I'm like, I hate this. Like, someone get me out, but this is Romania, and you do have Eastern European parents, so you just have to push through and be like, yeah, here's my degree. But in the meantime, I started posting stuff and dabbling with cooking, which changed my life.
You got yourself out, and now you're here.
I know, it feels so good. And I hope this sends a message of hope to everyone, like anyone planning on switching careers. Anyone?
Do it.
We have a few hands up. I think it's possible, and I hope this encourages you to do it. It's very scary, and it's scary to dive into something you're not trained for, maybe, or you're not as familiar with, and just completely switch your life 180, but it's very, very rewarding once you do it.
What is, like, I am fairly convinced my dad has no idea, like, what I actually do. So, and, you know, and he's like American, and, like, it's like, it's like your mom, your family is still in Romania.
Correct.
Do they, like, you're like, Mom, I don't want to be a computer scientist anymore. Like, I'm going to write recipes and post them online and be a cook. Like, does she get it? Like, where's she at?
The first time she understood what I was doing is when she had to help me with the behind the scenes a little bit and see what goes on behind a video. We have this small balcony in our 1-bedroom apartment that I shared pictures of yesterday on my Instagram.
With the shower seats?
Yes, there's a shower seat as my tripod. There's like this rusty old mop that I used as also like a tripod support. And when she saw what goes behind the scenes, she's like, oh, this isn't like play. Like, you're not just joking. You're not just playing. You're actually doing stuff. I think because my parents don't speak English, it's also very hard for them to fully understand what I'm doing because I don't really speak, and I'm not doing what I'm doing in Romanian. So it's harder to understand that, but I think they reached the point where they sort of understand it. Like I talked to them this weekend, and my dad was like, oh, you got your cookbook. I'm gonna need 10 copies signed so I could sell them. And then,
I wonder what he's gonna get. Like, I bet he's.
I don't know. I think he's like he's making a pitch to like
Clarkson Potter better watch out because your dad is.
He's starting a bookstore in Romania.
I love that.
He's just selling my cookbook.
He's like photocopying.
He's a character, and the first time he saw my cover, he was like, oh, where's my name on your cover? I'm like, well, isn't Gelen enough? He's like, no, you have to credit me as your father.
Oh, wow.
And he was serious. That wasn't a joke. He was like, he was a little bit offended that he didn't end up on the cover.
So he's a feminist.
Definitely, totally.
Gorgeous. I love him. I never met him, but I love him already.
I think they mean well. Like
of course. We're lucky,
they support me in every way they can, which I'm very grateful for. And if they don't fully understand it, that's fine, you know.
They understand.
They understand enough to support you, which is
I love that.
Special.
I want to like go and I did make a few things that I was really excited about over here with my little notes. Can we talk about some of these recipes?
100%.
And also, I will be talking about how cute you are in every photo.
Okay.
I can't handle it. You at the farmer's market with the sunflower seeds?
Yes.
Frame it. Where's Framebridge? I'm framing it.
You know what? When I saw those sunflower seeds, have any of you were raised with sunflower seeds, like sunflowers? Okay, we have a few of them. And did you eat like the seeds? Quite a few. Okay.
Wait. I've eaten sunflower seeds. Is that the question?
Have you ever seen like how they grow and everything?
I saw in your book for the first time.
Right? Like people don't know that that's how they
was
actually
unreal.
come from the sunflower.
I actually had to ask my boyfriend what the fuck was happening. And he was like, those are sunflower seeds. And I was like, oh.
I'm glad you finally.
I thought it was one of those like cushions that you sit on that supports you with like air and like the little bump, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Not like
you know what? Now that you bring it up, it does look pretty
it looks like
similar
a seat
to that.
cushion. Anyways.
Yes.
Okay, so first thing that I gasped at, so genius, sesame crusted breakfast quesadilla. Like just such a I love a breakfast quesadilla, but adding it's like more crunch than you could ever hope for.
100%. It's very reminiscent of a sesame crusted bagel. You know when you toast it and you get those warm toasty sesame seeds and you get the oils going in the sesame seeds. It's such a special bite every single time. So I wanted to replicate that outside of a quesadilla. So I brush it with a little bit of egg and then I glue the sesame seeds. I just put them on top and they just stick to the tortilla and it's such an irresistible crunch.
This is one of those moments where I'm like livid that I didn't think of that and you did, but I'm happy for you and I support you.
You know what's funny? Now that I posted it, I'm afraid that other people are gonna take it and like steal my idea. So I'm gonna go home and like make 7 more versions of this.
Yeah, you should copyright this. Yeah, you can't copyright
trademark
recipes,
my sesame crusted stuff.
The photo team. I think Caitlin's here back
and
there.
Nico
I see
should
her.
be here too.
She does incredible.
Oh, there they are.
They're back there. They're so proud.
Raise your hands again, everyone. Look at them.
Yay! Oh, they got a Nico. Hi, Nico. This Dutch baby photo is just so beautiful. Like I cried a little. Have you guys seen it? It's on page 43.
It was very much a team effort to get that. Katie is the stylist behind it, and Nico is the photographer. And if you've ever made a Dutch baby pancake, it basically souffles and puffs up in the oven. So the minute you pull it out, you've got like 2 minutes before it deflates.
Yeah.
And so we had to take the shot in 2 minutes, and I feel like we did a great job doing it. I always laugh at my hands in that picture. I have like really tiny hands, and I'm using a tiny sieve, so it looks like a baby is like dusting sugar over the Dutch.
It's the Dutch baby.
It's a baby in the Dutch baby.
You're the Dutch baby. Oh my gosh. Dutch babies. Okay, so speaking of cutest like ever, I'm going to tell the class if they want to turn to page 90. The wings, first of all, I want to devour these, but also your little face, I can't handle it.
I know. Like, you know what? I was hesitant to add that photo, but Katie she insisted I do it, so.
Like we've had this moment where you're looking at your friend like these fucking wings. You know what I mean? It's really good.
You know what I love about those? To me, wings are like popcorn. You know, like it's the meat equivalent of popcorn. I could just eat like a bowl of wings for dinner and I'm all 100%.
Set. And you're like they're still in the bowl that you toss them in.
Yes,
good.
I don't know about you. I just never feel full after them, so it feels like I'm just so
I've never
skinny
felt full
today.
in my life, so
I ate like 48 wings, so I'm just like, look at me.
I have a lot. I'm just gonna say, okay, one thing I was really angry at you about, just so you know, brown butter espresso chocolate chip cookies, like espresso in a chocolate chip cookie.
Yes.
Genius.
Thank you. I actually thought this was gonna, I thought you were mad for a second.
No, I am mad, but I'm pretending I like you.
I thought I did something wrong. Yes,
no,
espresso in chocolate chip cookies.
So good.
It's instant espresso powder, and you dissolve it in the liquid batter. And they don't really taste like coffee, but they just accentuate the chocolate flavor, and they're very, very delicious. And if you can't get your hands on instant espresso powder, a great hack is to infuse the butter with ground coffee, and you pretty much get the same effect. But yeah, it's a very delicious one.
I do want to let everyone know that the most incredible butter beans a la vodka are in the book. They are on page 156.
They had to make it.
They're so, those are like made you a star.
Yes.
I mean, you were a star before, but like.
They brought me some lovely people my way.
All right, let's see. I have some other bonus questions in the back of the book. So let's see. What recipe gave you the most trouble when you were developing it? Like, which one were you just like, ugh?
Ooh, I think it's a tie between my think cabbage roll in a casserole.
That photo, oh my gosh.
That one's Nikki is the assistant stylist behind that picture. She's actually a pastry chef, and when I saw that picture, I'm like, wow, Nikki, I could have never in a million years layered the cabbage like that. For some reason, like every single layer just measures the same
gorgeous.
amount in each photo, and it's
So just
stunning.
to explain, it's a cabbage roll, but it's like a casserole.
Yeah, so I
you're
wanted
taking
to
It's
take-
like lasagna,
Exactly.
cabbage roll lasagna.
It was actually called a cabbage lasagna, a cabbage roll lasagna, but then I'm like, there's no cheese and there's like, people
Yeah.
are gonna think this is lasagna and it's not. But I wanted to take the rolling, which is the fussiest part of making cabbage rolls. If you've ever made cabbage rolls, you know they're very much, they're a labor of love. They're very delicious, but you have to spend a few hours making them. And I grew up with my family, like, it would be a brag in the family. Like if my mother would roll, let's say 200 cabbage rolls, she would immediately call her sisters and she would just brag at the phone. She's like, yeah, you know, like I just rolled 200 cabbage rolls today. No big deal. And then they would like combat that with be like, oh, I did 250. So like she would steam some more cabbage and like it would be a constant
they're like in the
competition.
thousands
Like that's a
by now.
flex.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take the flex out of that and just layer the meat and cabbage together. But
You are
what
ending
gave me a-
generational trauma
Yes.
now, which I think is
now they're
important.
gonna stack them so high and
Yeah.
they're like, I got 28 layers.
Their
in
cabbage
my-"
casserole. They're gonna be like, Mom? She's like, I'm behind the casserole.
So what was tricky with that is finding the right amount of liquid to the rice in order for everything to cook properly and not just like ooze everywhere. So that took a few tries and yeah, but I'm pretty happy with the result. It's one of those very impressive mains you can make, and if you're vegetarian or vegan, it's very, very easy to make vegetarian or vegan. Instead of the meat, just use blitzed up mushrooms. They work really, really well. Maybe
Gorgeous.
cook them down a little bit so to get more of the moisture out,
Yeah.
or just like some sort of meat substitute.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about the garlic chicken and farro? No, couscous?
Couscous, yes, curled
Couscous.
couscous. It does look like farro too.
just what's the deal? I need to make it. Why is everyone freaking out? Is it the garlic?
I think it's the garlic, but I think it's also how simple it is. It really encompasses the essence of a one-pan meal. We're all tired, we're all overworked. You come home from work, the last thing you want to do is like start chopping a bunch of stuff and standing in your kitchen for a million hours. So you just dump a bunch of things in a pan. There's chicken, there's pearled couscous, everything cooks in the oven actually. You just forget about it and dinner is ready. And it's inspired by one of the dinners my mother used to make growing up. It's funny, in Romania we call pearled couscous, it's called couscous. So,
Of course.
and when I showed that image to her, she laughed at it because she was like, what's the green stuff on top of that? I would have never added green stuff on top of it. I'm like, no, it's inspired by yours. I'm not saying it's exactly like yours, but we wouldn't be, I don't know about, how was your family growing up? Because for us, we would have certain herbs or certain things. Like if a family member wouldn't like one thing, the whole family would not eat that thing.
No, we're people pleasers. So there would be like meatballs with raisins, meatballs with no raisins.
Wow.
Like, I told my grandmother when I was like 5 that I liked green beans, and like the rest of my life, it's like green beans on the table. Like she
You
just
show up for
couldn't-
your birthday and
like
it's
she
a
just
green
was like,
bean
you love
cake."
green beans, and I'm like, I don't know where this started. So yeah, and I, you know, my family, like, I joke like, my cookbook could have been like the 5-ingredient Italian American cookbook because we use like basil, garlic, tomatoes, olive oil, and like pot. Like that's it. So we didn't really like. My family was not surprised by my book. They were like, "Yeah, got it." So.
That's so interesting because for us, we are not. I am a people pleaser. I think I grew up as an adult to become a people pleaser, but. Back then, we like, for example, my father doesn't like cooked onions. Like he's gonna eat a raw onion like it's an apple, but he doesn't like to see. Hold on. Like we're some of these like fussy details are like truly fussy. So my father doesn't like cooked onions swimming in stuff. So he would never eat a sautéed onion in a soup or a sauce or anything like that. So what my mother would do, she would boil the onion whole and just remove it after that. So he likes the onion taste, but he wouldn't like the texture of stewy onions.
He's not like an eat around it kind of guy?
What's that?
Could he eat around the onion or no?
Oh, this is Eastern Europe, honey. You don't eat around that. You just take it. Absolutely not.
Okay. It's kind of like, there's something about that I like. Okay, so I'm having a dinner party, and I want to make it all from your book. Give me like, what's the menu?
I would start with the focaccia. There's a no-fuss focaccia in there. You dump a bunch of stuff in a bowl, you forget about it in the fridge, and something magical happens in the fridge that you're not responsible of, and you have the most amazing and incredible dough to work with. That was one of my tricks I did before moving to the US. When I got my visa and it was about time to leave, that last week I was there, a bunch of family came over to visit. So what I did, I made like 8 times that focaccia recipe, and I kept it in like this big bucket in the fridge. And every time someone would show up, I would just pinch a little bit of dough. I would put it in the pan and just let it proof. And every time they would show up, I would just pop that in the oven. And there's nothing better than fresh bread. So it's always it feels very thoughtful, but I'm like, yeah, I made this 8 days ago. I hope everything's fine with the dough.
No, I mean, who doesn't want to show up to a house that has like baked, like bread baked? Like my parents were obsessed with looking at houses they would never buy, and like my favorites were like the real estate agents would like bake cookies, and like so you'd walk in the house and it smelled like baked cookies.
I saw people like lighting candles that smell like cookies.
Yeah. Oh no, that's different. But
I feel like that's more thoughtful. Imagine if you actually served the cookies.
What if your cookbook was just like 100 candles? That was it. Okay, sorry. I think we have to. That's how I'm gonna end this. So embarrassing.
So focaccia.
One more question.
Stuffed dates and a dessert. Probably my sour cream, milk chocolate sour cream pie.
Wait, so focaccia, stuffed dates, and a dessert?
Yes, and some sort of dips. Like nosh, if you're hosting and you want like little meze, like little bites and nibbles, nosh and nibbles is the chapter for you. It's just full of like easy appetizers you can make for folks.
I thought your eggplant was steak tartare for a second, but it looks so good.
Yes, that smell is just irresistible. I will never, has anyone charred an eggplant in their apartment or home? Okay, quite a few people. A lot of you are missing out. So go buy an eggplant and char it in wherever. It's funny, I grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment, so whenever an eggplant would start charring on the stove, it would just immediately fill the apartment with that smell. It's one of the best smells you'll smell in your kitchens.
Another candle concept for you.
Oh my gosh, we should start a candle business after this. Cookies and eggplants.
Okay, I think we are going to turn this over to the audience for some questions.
Yes.
And I'm gonna lose my mic, sadly, but probably for the best. So here, you go.
All right, thank you, Dan. So if you have questions, raise your hand. I'll come to you. I'm gonna start all the way in the back. Thank you. Hi, Karina. Congrats.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make all of these with my Romanian mom. Here's a fun question kind of playing off of that one. In the restaurant of life, if someone were to order the Mediterranean, what would that dish look like?
Ooh. Could I go for fresh bread? I think it would probably be some sort of very, very well-proofed fresh bread, but it would have to be served freshly baked and hot. I love to slice my bread nice and hot, even though that's an absolute no in the kitchen. It's one of the best things that you'll ever try in your life. So I feel like that's a little bit self-absorbed, so I'm sorry about that, but yeah, fresh bread.
It's your night, babe. Like your day.
Hello.
Hi.
I found you via your amazing orange fennel chicken, which is like one of the best chickens you've ever made.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
What's the one recipe you always come to when like you're having a bad day or you just feel like making something?
Does this need to be in the cookbook, or I could give you one? Okay, if it was from the cookbook, it would probably be the 1-pan chicken pearled couscous, because it's so like no fuss. I don't really have to think about it. I can just forget it. But I think on a regular day, it's probably instant ramen. it just comes together so quickly. You spice it up with like a couple ingredients. Like I love to add fennel to mine and maybe some kimchi and instant ramen, and I'm all set.
Delicious. I would put an egg.
Ooh, that's good.
Do you want to, what was your answer to that?
Oh, no.
Dan said he would add an egg to it.
I always drop an egg and scramble it.
I feel like I'm on and off with eggs. I don't know if does anyone have the egg ick where you're like, you just can't eat eggs this week? Okay, yeah, I go through phases. It's like I will die for a runny yolk and then I don't ever want to see one again.
It's common.
Hi. Ooh, what's next? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the book tour. This is our first night, so this is such an exciting start. What's next? I don't think I have an answer for that. I hope maybe a TV show. I would love to be on some sort of TV show. I don't have anything in the works, so maybe we're just manifesting tonight. We're putting that out there. If any producers are watching, my phone number is 435. But yeah, I think I would love to have some sort of TV show or some sort of show. It doesn't have to be on TV. I think that would be really fun.
Absolutely.
Maybe thrifting related.
Yeah.
Hi. Ooh, so Sarah from Broma Bakery and Justine from Justine Snacks, definitely. They've been very, very close friends in this industry, and they are two of my go-to people whenever I have something that I'm doubting or something that, you know, I have a question of, or even just looking for some people to hang out with when I'm in New York City. They are definitely there for me. So they've inspired me in many, many ways, not just food-wise, but just in life.
We've got a couple more. I see a hand over here, and a hand over there.
Hi.
I'm here with my 13-year-old son. I was a little shy to ask a question. He never doesn't have social media or any interest in social media until I started showing him your videos. And now
Oh my goodness.
but anyway, he loves cooking. He's amazing.
That's amazing.
And would ask like, what advice do you have for him?
What do you love cooking the most? Everyone stop looking at him. Ooh, who doesn't love potatoes? Come on. They're the best. That's such a great answer. I think follow what you love to do. I think you seem to have a mother that nourishes that passion in the kitchen, which is such a privilege and such a blessing in everyone's life. And if you can stick to that and dive into whatever you love to do, I think that's gonna take you very, very far. Whether it's becoming a chef, whether it's becoming a content creator, there's so many things you can do with food. Maybe you can become a restaurant critic. There's just so many positions you can do, but I think sticking to that and investing in what you love is gonna take you very far.
What about computer science?
Computer science. Well, don't stick to stuff that you don't love. I wish I kind of dropped out of college and just started this immediately. But that's a great question.
So I actually have two questions.
Ooh.
The first one is, I'm curious like what goes into your recipe creation process? Like is it that you go to a farmer's market and you see something that's in season and then you get inspired, or like how does that come about? So that's question one. Question two is, what happened on your fly fishing escapades?
Oh, such great questions. I think something that inspires my cooking the most, and I think this is maybe coming from me growing up with a bunch of stuff from the clearance aisle. I don't know if you've ever shopped in the clearance aisle. That stuff expires tomorrow. So you're taught to like use it up very fast. And I think that still drives my creations because it just pushes you to put stuff together that you wouldn't put together. So that is definitely where I draw a lot of my inspiration from. But also, it's true, like going to farmers markets is very inspiring, and cooking with seasonal food will never get tiring. And regarding my fly fishing experience as a fly fishing connoisseur, I kind of stopped doing it. For those of you, for context, I took a fly fishing class, and I learned like halfway through the class why it's called fly fishing. I thought it's just like a fun name for fishing, but no, there's like a fly that you attach to your fishing pole, not wand.
Fishing wand?
Fishing wand. I did call it fishing wand in the class, and they're like, you are not passionate about this, are you? So that's how my fly fishing experience started. But at the end of the class, everyone assumed that we're going to be fly fishing by the end of it, because that's what you would assume at a fly fishing class. And then we all gathered in a park. Everyone got a fishing pole. It was a very funny sight to see, because everyone was wearing fishing gear, and we were all covered up in sunscreen and everything, and we were just doing this with the pole for 3 hours in the park. And you know, the clock's ticking. You're like, we were right next to a river, so we're doing this by the end of it, right? It never happened. So I actually never got to fly fish, but I do live in a beautiful area where there's a lot of that. So I can pay someone to do it, but it's just, I need to find the time to do it.
Was there more classes, or was that it?
There were just 2 classes. So one of them, I learned what fly fishing was, and the second one, I learned how to hold a fishing pole.
No,
that was it. I think there's a shtick to it, because the instructor had a fly fishing store in town, and I think that's just like, hey, me, like, if you actually want to fly fish, pay us $500 tomorrow. So I think that's just like a scam he's managed to pull on me.
I saw a hand over here, and then I'm going to head to the other side.
Hi.
So as a master thrifter, what advice do you have for people who have less space in New York City between getting everything and finding the best things? Maybe just 2 tips.
Ooh, I will say this. I'm gonna bring up my father again. He is very much a hoarder. So he will like thrift a toy, and he's gonna be like, oh, but maybe your cousin's gonna have a baby boy and I can give that to him. So we like gather a bunch of stuff, and I think that taught me to not do that, so I can get rid of stuff very easily. I'm a great thrifter, but I'm an even better purger or donator. But I think being very mindful with what you're purchasing, I always like to take a step back. I like to ignore the brand. I feel like we've all done this when you find something designer and you're like, this is a Gucci for like $3. But then it's like, I like to cover the brand. I'm like, what if this wasn't Gucci for $3? Would I buy it if it didn't have a brand? And I think that helps you be a little bit more selective. But what do I know? I actually thrifted this dress that I'm wearing. I packed like 10 minutes before flying here. I just like dumped a bunch of stuff in my luggage, and I got here and I don't have anything to wear, so maybe.
Effortless.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah, just
You look great.
ask some questions before you purchase stuff. Does that answer the question? Awesome. Is that it? Yeah. Thank you so much. Ooh, you know what? I think the first thing that comes to mind is probably Rosh Hashanah. I will say that. I do love some sweet stuff. I worked on a date and honey kugel that happens to be parve for the New York Times, so that should be out pretty soon. And yeah, I just love playing around those flavors. It's just so inspiring, all the Rosh Hashanah flavors. Sweet, apples, honey, anything. They come together so lovely. Which one's yours? Yes.
Okay, I think we have time for 2 more. I saw a hand here, and then a hand there. I think that's all we'll have time for.
Congratulations on your book.
Thank you so much.
Were there any recipes that didn't make the cut, and what were they?
Ooh, we had this one. It was a dessert I had to cut because this is not quite a dessert cookbook, so I didn't want to have too fussy of a dessert, but it was actually a raspberry cake that had a few two elements, and it was like not very affordable, so I'm like, just doesn't fit in here. It was a great cake that was like covered in raspberries. I shared like a similar version on my social media, but yeah, that one had to go out because it didn't fit the approachability of it all.
Hi. You said that you live in Utah.
Yes.
I'm curious about that already, but I wanted to know what the culinary scene is like in Utah. How does that impact your cooking?
That's a great question. So just for reference, the way I ended up in Utah, I love to tell this story because anytime I tell someone I live in Utah, they're a little bit like, it's hard to hide the face. They're always like, they're doing this with their neck. I actually got a job opportunity there at the ski resorts in Park City, and you're very naive when you don't live in the US. Before I moved here, you just assume that America and the US is just like one big country, but then you end up here and you're like, oh, every state, it's like its own little country. You don't realize that. And I remember my first week in Utah, I'm like, where are the skyscrapers that I kept seeing on these movies? Like, you guys have been lying to me. Where's the skyscrapers? But yes, I got to work there with this James Beard award-winning chef at one of his restaurants at an auberge resort. So that made up for the experience. The scene is growing. The scene is growing, and I live next to so many farms, and there's just so much like farm to table material all over and all around. Farmers markets are incredible. I live next to like a cheese shop, like a cheese factory, like people make their own cheese there. So it's more developed than you might think. It's very interesting to see. So we got lots of fun restaurants. This is sponsored by Utah Doc.
All right, I think that's all the time we have, but let's give it up for questions. Thank you, Dan, for moderating such a great conversation. And thank you, Carolina, for celebrating this lunch.
Absolutely.
So before everyone starts getting up and moving around, I just want to let you all know what's happening now. Carolina will be signing at this table right over here. So we're going to have you all line up down the aisle on that side of the room. If you want to buy a copy of the book, they're available at the table where you checked in.
Cool,
Yeah.
let's do it. I just wanted to tell everyone, thank you so much for coming. I know you guys are busy, like you probably have better things to do.